In a small, picturesque town bordered by rolling hills and lush meadows, there lived a young woman named Emma. Emma was known for her charm and fiery temper, a combination that had earned her both admiration and caution from those who knew her. She was a single mother to a vibrant, wide-eyed 4-year-old boy named Oliver. Despite the challenges, Emma tried her best to raise him with love, though her temper often got the better of her. Oliver's 4th birthday was a day of great excitement. The town's bakery had crafted a splendid cake, a 2-tiered masterpiece adorned with colorful balloons and a tiny train set circling its base. It was everything a little boy could dream of. Emma had invited a few close friends and family to their modest home. The living room was festooned with streamers, and cheerful music filled the air. The guests mingled, laughter and chatter echoing as Oliver zipped around in his excitement. His tiny hands couldn't wait to cut the cake and blow out the candles, but beneath Emma's cheerful exterior, tension simmered. She had worked tirelessly to prepare the party, feeling the weight of expectation and judgment from others, particularly her mother-in-law, Margaret. Margaret was a formidable woman, known for her sharp tongue and penetrating gaze, and her presence only added to Emma's unease. As the guests gathered around, Oliver was hoisted onto a chair at the head of the table. The cake was placed before him, candles flickering, as everyone began to sing. His small face lit up with glee as he clapped along, the pure joy of a child in its truest form. But just as Oliver leaned forward to blow out the candles, a series of small mishaps unfolded. One of the balloons popped loudly, startling Emma. Simultaneously, Oliver's little hand accidentally knocked over a cup of juice, spilling it onto the pristine white tablecloth. The noise and mess were minor, but for Emma, already on edge, it was the last straw. In a flash of frustration, she grabbed a handful of the cake and, without thinking, smashed it onto Oliver's face. The room fell silent, the cheerful atmosphere vanishing in an instant. Oliver froze, his joyful expression replaced with shock and confusion. The sticky frosting dripped down his cheeks as he looked up at his mother, his lower lip trembling. "That's what happens when you're careless." Emma snapped, her voice sharp, Oliver's eyes filled with tears. Without a word, he slid off the chair and bolted out of the room, his tiny feet pounding on the wooden floor. He ran past the stunned guests, past the decorations, and out into the garden where his grandmother, Margaret, sat quietly on a bench beneath the old oak tree. Margaret had been observing the party from a distance, her keen eyes missing nothing. When Oliver stumbled toward her, sobbing, she opened her arms and he flung himself into her comforting embrace. "What's wrong, my little bird?" she asked softly, her voice warm and soothing. Between sobs, Oliver recounted what had happened. Margaret listened without interrupting, her expression calm but her eyes betraying a flicker of anger. She wiped the frosting and tears from his face with a handkerchief she always carried and kissed his forehead. After a few moments, she stood, holding Oliver's hand firmly. Together, they walked back into the house. The room was still eerily quiet, the guests awkwardly fidgeting and avoiding eye contact. Emma stood near the table, her arms crossed defensively, her face a mask of regret and stubborn pride. Margaret walked to the center of the room, her gaze sweeping over everyone before settling on Emma. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was calm but carried the weight of years of wisdom. "Emma," she began, her tone even but firm. "Do you know what a child remembers most about their birthdays? It's not the cake, the gifts, or the decorations. It's the love they feel, the laughter they share, and the warmth of being cherished." Emma's eyes flickered, her defenses wavering. Margaret continued, Oliver is 4. He will not remember how perfect the cake looked or how spotless the tablecloth was. But he will remember how his mother made him feel in this moment. Do you want him to remember shame on a day meant to celebrate him? The weight of Margaret's words hung in the air, pressing down on everyone in the room. Emma's face crumpled, her tough exterior breaking. She sank into a chair. Burying her face in her hands as tears streamed down her cheeks, I didn't mean to, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I was just so overwhelmed. Margaret knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. We all lose our temper, Emma. But a good mother knows when to admit her mistakes and make things right. It's not too late. Emma nodded slowly, wiping her tears. She stood and turned to Oliver, who was watching from Margaret's side, his eyes wide with a mix of hope and wariness. Oliver, sweetheart, Emma said, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Can you forgive me? Oliver hesitated for a moment before running to his mother, wrapping his small arms around her neck. It's okay, Mommy, he said softly. I love you. The room, once tense, softened as the guests exchanged relieved smiles. Emma hugged her son tightly, vowing silently to never let her temper hurt him again. Margaret clapped her hands, breaking the silence. Well, she said with a smile, we still have half a cake left. Let's make this a birthday to remember for the right reasons. The party resumed, and though the cake was slightly lopsided and the tablecloth stained, none of that mattered. Laughter filled the room once more, and Oliver beamed as he opened his presents, surrounded by love and warmth. From that day forward, Emma worked hard to manage her temper, often seeking advice from Margaret, who became her unwavering support. And every year, on Oliver's birthday, the family would gather under the old oak tree, where Margaret would remind them all of the simple but profound truth: love, my dears, is the best memory of all.